WWE Evolution 2018 recap. Welcome back to the ACB Wrestling Talk Channel, your main source for wrestling news, topics, discussions, previews, all that kind of good stuff. I am your host, Alexis Carrillo, and the woman made history last night. All the women that took part of the Evolution pay-per-view made history last night because they put on one hell of a show. And yes, we talked about how in the weeks leading up to Evolution, WWE didn't really put a lot of effort into the build-up. They didn't put a lot of effort into the storylines and into the actual card. You weren't that excited, but the woman came out last night. Every single match for me on some kind of level delivered. Every single segment, every single match was entertaining, and really, that's all you can ask from a wrestling show. That's all you can ask from an entertainment show, that it be entertaining. And I can tell you about a lot of pay-per-views this year and many years in the past that WWE has put on, that they have produced, that have had some really high points, but have had some really low points that just make you fall asleep. And Evolution last night did not have those kind of moments. Every single match, every single segment was watchable. Every single segment was entertaining, and every single segment was worth your while and worth your buck. So on that part alone, I think Evolution did deliver. And I know this is just me wishful thinking. I don't think it's actually gonna happen, but I truly hope that this pay-per-view, Evolution, becomes a yearly pay-per-view. Make it the Women's WrestleMania on WWE's calendar. I really hope they do that. Because yes, we get 12, 13, 14 other events produced by WWE that have 8 or 9 matches, which have like 1 or 2, sometimes even 3 women's matches on the card. But more often than not, we get more pay-per-view matches with men. Bring back Evolution every single year. All women's card. Make it happen. I just wanted to point that out. As far as the show itself, I did not watch the kickoff. So when I was watching the actual pay-per-view and the NXT UK women's title was not on the line with Rhea Ripley, I think that's how you pronounce her name, I find out that, her match against Dakota Kai, which she won, was actually on the kickoff show, which disappointed me because I wanted to see the NXT UK women's title and Rhea Ripley, or Ray, whatever. I'm sorry, don't really know how to pronounce her first name. If I'm butchering it, I apologize. But I really wanted to watch that match on the actual card. Then we get into the first match. And honestly, right before the pay-per-view started, I said this pay-per-view is going to start with either one of 2 matches. It's either going to be Trish and Lita versus Fox and Mickie James, or it's going to be the 6-woman tag team match between Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya versus the Riott Squad, and they went with Stratus and Lita. Now, this match was a little bit difficult for me because, like I said, when I did the preview, which you can find on this channel right now, just a few days earlier that I posted on Wednesday, I previewed the match as Trish and Lita versus Mickie and Alexa because that's what it had been. We find out, what was it, late Thursday or Friday, that Alexa Bliss was going to be unable to take part in the match, to take part in this historic event, and they replaced her with Alicia Fox. Now, here's the thing. Nothing against Alicia Fox, nothing against Mickie James. But if the last 2 years, 3 years, maybe even more have proved anything in terms of creative, they have done nothing, absolutely nothing, to make us, the fans, take Alicia Fox and Mickie James seriously. Yes, they are both former champions in their own right. Alicia Fox is a former Divas champion. Mickie James is a former 5-time Women's champion, I believe, including Women's and Divas titles, and not counting the titles that she won in Impact. But Alicia Fox has been built into this crazy, wild gimmick that doesn't really have her win matches. She just goes in the ring, acts crazy, takes some spots, takes some moves, and loses the match. Pretty much loses every match ever since she was paired up with the Bellas in the first place. The same with Mickie James. Mickie James returned to WWE about 2 or 3 years ago as Alexa Bliss's sidekick. And she has always been Alexa Bliss's sidekick ever since. They had one meaningless feud where Mickie James turned babyface because they apparently had nobody else to challenge Bliss at that time, which didn't do anything for Mickie James. And then they had her paired up with Alexa Bliss with no explanation at all, other than, they were paired up before. So honestly, I know Mickie James is a legend in WWE Women's Wrestling, and Alicia Fox has proven in the past can hold her own, but this match did not have the best circumstances around it. I did not believe for 1 second that Alicia Fox and Mickie James were going to win this match, and obviously Trish and Lita win it. There was one really mistimed spot where I believe the fans booed because it was a pinfall attempt, and the referee counted 1, counted 2, and it was about to count 3, and apparently someone, honestly I don't remember, someone was supposed to break the pinfall attempt but didn't quite get there. It was about a split second too late, and so the referee himself stopped the count without the actual either Fox or James breaking it. So, it was kind of a low point for that match. But as far as who wins, I find it perfect to have Trish and Lita win, even though I'm a main supporter of having the young new stars go over. I believe it was the right move to have Trish and Lita win, because I'm sorry, but you can't buy Alicia Fox and Mickie James in the current state beating a team like Trish and Lita. Then we had the Women's Battle Royal with a future women's title shot on the line. Now, I said in the predictions video, in the preview video, I expected Naomi to win this. And if it wasn't Naomi, I was expecting Asuka. They were both eliminated. And they went with a pretty obvious option with Nia Jax, being one of the strongest and a bigger sized woman, winning the match. But one thing I want to highlight from the Battle Royal is, well, 2 things actually. Number 1, I've read a few fans criticize that whole dance break segment that Carmella had with Ivory, speaking about how, it was, a bad timing, bad segment to put in that match. And all I have to say is, hey, if you go back to the 2000 Royal Rumble, you had Rikishi and Too Cool do a dance number where the actual lights dimmed and music played. That was all fine and well, and it was entertaining. This was entertaining just as much. So I really didn't see any problem. As far as who actually won, I was rooting for Ember Moon to win at the end, because they did place her as the underdog. It appeared the final 3 were Tamina, Nia Jax, and Ember Moon. They eliminated Tamina. Ember Moon was on the verge of eliminating Nia Jax, or they were on the ring apron, and then you had Zelina Vega come in, do the traditional and classic push both women out to the outside, then look away, not pay attention that she didn't eliminate anyone, and celebrate. And I just love it. I just love these moments, because superstars, women or male, any superstars have to pretend and pretty much ignore the fans who are pretty much out there yelling at them, hey, you haven't eliminated it. Take a look at what you did. They're still there. And the superstars have to pretty much ignore and act like, yeah, I eliminated them. And then they turn around all surprised. And, it's all part of entertainment. They obviously eliminate Zelina Vega. And we have Ember Moon versus Nia Jax. And they did a terrific job of positioning Ember Moon as the underdog against Nia Jax. Didn't quite make the cut. And wasn't totally disappointed with Nia Jax winning this Battle Royal. Simply because it kind of makes sense, because Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey didn't actually finish up their match at Money in the Bank. There was interference, it ended in a DQ. So, Nia Jax is still active, is still an active threat to Rousey's title, but I was just expecting something different for Rousey's next challenger. Moving on, we had the Mae Young Classic, the finals of the Mae Young Classic, Toni Storm versus Io Shirai. Very particular match because at the beginning they started doing this very technical ground wrestling based style for the match. And I was wondering to myself, this is great wrestling. This is amazing wrestling for hardcore wrestling fans. Let's see how the casual fan base, how the mainstream fan base takes to all of this that these women are doing. And it didn't really matter as much because they paid attention. Toni Storm just looked like a star. And Io Shirai, damn, can that woman wrestle? I can't wait to see her on the main roster, although, she's most likely going to be I'd say maximum 2 years in NXT, and 2 years is just a little bit too much. You bring her up to the main roster as soon as possible. Io Shirai, both of these women are going to be future stars and future contenders for the women's division. Toni Storm gets the win. And let's see what they do with her. Do they have her go after the NXT UK Women's title or the NXT Women's title? Do they bring her up to the main roster right away? We'll just have to wait and see. As far as where I want to see her go, I prefer her going for the NXT Women's title against Shayna Bazsler, which we'll get to in a minute or two. And then we have the 6 women's tag team match. Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya go over the Riott Squad in a great match. Honestly, in this order, number 1 was Sasha Banks, number 2 Bayley, number 3 Ruby Riott, number 4 Natalya, number 5 Liv Morgan, and number 6 Sarah Logan in terms of actually putting on a great performance for this match. Natalya was pretty much a non-factor until the very end. That's how I saw it, because she didn't really take part as much of the match as I would have wanted to. And that finishing move from Sasha Banks, that frog splash, a little bit too quick on the delivery. She didn't quite get the elevation needed to do that traditional 5-star frog splash maneuver, but she landed it and they get the win. My only issue when these kinds of things happen is that it kind of hurts the tandem. It kind of hurts the team. And the Riott Squad have been together for over a year now. They've been tagging together for over a year now. They know everything in their arsenal. They know how to, do these nefarious tactics to take these women out. And then you gotta put together a tag team at the last second, like Natalya, Banks, and Bayley coming in. And yes, they're former women's champions, but they haven't worked as a team together in the past, or not as much as the Riott Squad. So I think this match could have gone either way, and it went with Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya because they have been a part of this women's evolution for years and years and years, and Banks and Bayley and Natalya, even in the past, defined what good women's wrestling was what really good women's wrestling was in the past before this whole women's revolution. So glad to have them win this match. And we had the NXT Women's title on the line. And I can tell you this, in the Evolution preview, I predicted that Kairi Sane was going to retain her title, and that Shayna Bazsler was going to be elevated and called up to the main roster as soon as tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. Well, here's the thing. In the transition of the night, we had Nia Jax come out with the victory of the Women's Battle Royal, which obviously made me change my mind, because I firmly believed a SmackDown Woman superstar was going to win the Battle Royal, and thus we would have Shayna Baszler lose and get called up and become #1 contender for Raw. That doesn't appear like it's going to happen. And so this match was wide open. And as far as the victory, Bazsler was probably not the best move, but it was the right move. I am firmly on board with having Shayna Baszler rule the NXT Women's Division for a few months going into the new year. Maybe after WrestleMania she gets called up. But for today and on the road into the new year and after, January and February, I'm perfectly fine with Shayna Baszler being NXT Women's Champion as long as she is flanked by her two other horsewomen. Make that a stable. Make that the focal point of the NXT Women's Division. And we have November and December and January where you have all these women challenging Shayna Baszler for the title. They all fail. They all, don't get the win over Shayna Baszler a few times because they can't, a few other times because the horsewomen get involved. And then on the road to WrestleMania, you have all the other women of the NXT Women's Division, get together and, band together. They create a group, they create an alliance to try to take these three horsewomen out so that they can get a hold back of their women's division. Now, that's the story that I would try and play out for this whole division for the next few months. If they go that route, I doubt it, because, I'm not a part of WWE Creative, and, I don't know what plans they might have for that, but that's where I'm pretty much trying to head to, in terms, or what I'm pretty much looking forward to in terms of this storyline. And then we get to the main event matches. The women's titles on the line. The main roster's women's titles on the line. And I set this into preview again. The following match should have been the main event. Not only because it was the best match of the night, not only because the fans are more supportive of Becky Lynch today than they are of Ronda Rousey, even though she's a heel, but because this rivalry, this feud, was the most important on the road to Evolution. Becky Lynch, Charlotte, they defined this night. The last woman standing match. Amazing. Match of the night, hands down. And it kept going, and it kept going, and it went long. I think it was over 30 minutes. Maybe I'm wrong. But somewhere around that time frame, it was that long. But it was that damn entertaining. They never lost you. Your attention was always on that match, and I love it when that happens. I am a fan of storytelling, and I am a fan of wrestling. I am a fan specifically of wrestling on pay-per-views, because on pay-per-views, I believe you should have 20-plus minute matches, 30-plus minute matches. That's what I believe. And this did not let me down. As far as the actual match itself, there were a few times during the match where I believed, oh my god, they're going to do the double turn. Because Charlotte was being so aggressive. She was, especially in those, when she was going to put the figure 4 and turn it into a figure 8 on the ladder. That's when I thought, oh, they're going to go with a double turn. Charlotte's so ruthless. Charlotte is so, aggressive towards Becky. She doesn't care. She doesn't give a damn anymore. She just wants her title back. She just wants to prove a point to her former best friend Becky Lynch, and they're gonna have her turn heel right here tonight. And it appears they didn't. And then towards the final 5 or 10 minutes of this match, I thought, oh my god, will Charlotte Flair actually come out with the victory? Because every single time Becky Lynch was getting really, really close to winning this match, Charlotte just found a way to get back up. She just found a way to keep fighting. She got back up. Becky Lynch couldn't put her down for the count. And it appeared that it wasn't going to be enough. Becky was going to lose. Charlotte was going to become an 8-time women's champion, and she was going to move on from Becky. That did not happen, obviously. Becky Lynch gets the win over Charlotte Flair. And hopefully we can start building Charlotte Flair to win the Women's Rumble, to go to the main event of WrestleMania. And in the meantime, we have Becky Lynch, keep the title until WrestleMania, where she drops it to one of either two candidates in my mind. Either Naomi or Asuka. Pick your favorite. That's what I would book. That's how I would make this entire thing happen. Because at WrestleMania, if you have the two women's titles on the line, one of them being Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's title, and the other one being Becky Lynch versus Asuka or Naomi for the SmackDown Women's title, you actually, for the first time in history, I believe, you have two women's matches on a WrestleMania card that fans not only care about, but they are invested in, but that they want to watch, that they are most looking forward to. And that would just be wonderful for WrestleMania that just 10 years ago did not have one singles women's match, did not have any women's titles on the line at the biggest stage of them all. So obviously, towards the future, I'm looking for all of this to happen. And finally, we have the main event. Nikki Bella comes out with Brie to challenge Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's title. The obvious choice was to have Ronda Rousey come out with the victory. There was a slight chance, a slight hesitation on my part in the hours and days leading up to Evolution, where I thought, would they really have Nikki Bella be the first woman to pin or to beat Ronda Rousey? Would they really do that? I mean, that would be complete utter heat for Nikki Bella and the Bella Twins. But alas, they did not. Ronda Rousey got the win. And as far as her being champion and the future challenger, I'm loving what they're doing with her programs. I'm loving what they're doing with her matches. Because, at least for me, it's very hard to buy into any one woman being good enough in the ring, being physical enough, being agile enough, being strong enough, being aggressive enough to beat Ronda Rousey one-on-one in fair game right now. That is very hard to believe for me. So in turn, we have, backhanded tactics. We have other strategies that these women are taking. For example, we had Alexa Bliss working on the ribs the last time she challenged for the title, which made Ronda Rousey sell for the match and actually made us watch a competitive match. And in this case, we had Brie Bella on the outside causing interference, getting involved, throwing her face first into the ring post, which I was completely a fan of. You read a lot of fans who are pretty mad about how WWE is booking Ronda Rousey to sell for Alexa Bliss and the Bella Twins, believing that Ronda Rousey should not be selling for them. That they're not on that level. That shouldn't happen. That can't be possible. That's not believable. But hey, this is wrestling. You could have Finn Balor beat the Big Show one-on-one for the WWE Championship. And that would be believable. Depends on how you book the match. Depends on how you tell the story in the ring. It's not always all about brawn. It's not always all about brains. It's a combination of the two. It's about a strategy. back in 2004, nobody believed Eddie Guerrero would beat Brock Lesnar. Nobody believed he could beat Brock Lesnar, but they had him do it. Circumstances got involved. They told a story in that ring. It happened. Fans bought into it. The reason they don't buy into this right now is just because they don't like the superstars involved. But the fact is, if you are smart in telling the story in that ring, if you tell it right and if you execute it right, it can and will work. And last night at Evolution, it worked. Period. End of story. That's it. Rousey gets the win. She gets the title. She's still the dominant Raw Women's Champion. You have to make her look vulnerable. At times, she's the babyface. That's it. So that was Evolution, the first all-women's pay-per-view event for WWE. Hopeful that they will bring it back next year, and hopefully an event every single year. Make it seem as, their, women's WrestleMania. All the focus on the woman. So as far, I already expressed my opinions on the actual show. Great show, entertaining show. So WWE got a B+. Well, no, A-, A- for this show. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Evolution show of last night. What are your thoughts? What did you think of the whole entire pay-per-view? Did you like a few of the matches? What do you agree with me on this entire recap? What don't you agree with me? What you disagree with me? Leave it in the comments section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button. If you follow wrestling news, topics, discussions, previews, all that kind of good stuff, consider subscribing. That's it for me. Till next time.